All right, this is Grant Burnett with OAC podcast number 12. This is going to be our Evolved Camo Epics moment, officially number 1. We're going to have G-Force Evolved Camo pro staff member Mike Burks, who just laid down a monster Missouri whitetail, and we're going to talk all about it here in just a few minutes. Hey, Mike, it's Grant. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, I appreciate you waiting on that. We're rocking and rolling. We are recording on the podcast. So I gave you a brief intro, talked about you being on staff with us over at G-Force Outdoors. I gave just a little bit of information about the Bruiser whitetail you laid down. So tell us all about the story, man, and how everything went down.
Well, it was kind of a fluke almost. I run 2 farms. I've got a lease I've had for a couple of years, and I've got a family farm that I've hunted for my whole life. So I spent most of the last summer and everything like that on the lease, learning about it, running cameras, blah blah blah. Because I knew the farm hadn't changed much. So my son-in-law and I picked him up to go hunting. He drove for once, and it was kind of weird because I had everything I needed in my truck packed, and he come picked me up. And, of course, we didn't take everything we needed, but we didn't think we was going to run into a big buck. But the nuts were falling. We got a perfect little 10-acre patch in between 2 bean fields that are just raining nuts. I thought, you know what, we'll just head in there and take us a couple does or whatever. Maybe we'll see a nice buck. And I've got 2 stands, one on each end of it. And I told him before we left, I said, okay, I'm going to give you the first pick of the stands. So he said, all right. So he picked the northeast stand. I said, all right, I'm going to take the bottom corner stand. And I said, don't be mad when I shoot a big one. He goes, oh, whatever. So we rolled in there, and from 15 minutes after I got in the tree, I had deer just piling on me. I had 2 big old white oaks around me that were just raining nuts, and I think every deer in the county had come through there. I think I had almost 30 deer before the end of the night that had come within 20 yards of me. It was crazy. And I was texting him, and he wasn't but about 200 yards away from me. And I was texting him and telling him about these deer, and he'd only seen 2 deer the whole night. And he was saying, I know he think I was lying, but the video all proved it. But right at last light, I looked up and I seen this cedar tree out there at 40 yards. It was getting dark, but it wasn't too late. It was about 7 o'clock. Cedar tree just going back and forth and back and forth. And I thought, what in the world? And I could hear the horns. And I said, man, that has got to be a big deer. So I kept on, never could see him. And finally he stepped out at 29 yards and my knees started shaking, and I couldn't even tell you if he was an 8-pointer, 10-pointer, whatever. All I seen was brow tines and G2s, and he turned to me, and I seen he had both sides of the rack. I said, that's a shooter. So he steps up there 29 yards, and I'd ranged it about 50 times before he come up there because that's where all the deer were hanging underneath this tree, and it was 29 yards where he was standing. I pulled back. I let it fly, and I was nervous and just shot low. I mean, it was just, I've killed almost 70 deer, and it was a bad shot. So I hit him right in the guts. Right in the guts. Just a horrible shot. And just luckily, for some reason, he ran straight to me and stopped broadside at 20 yards and started looking back and seeing what had happened. He still didn't realize what happened. Well, give me time to get another arrow out of my quiver. And 20 yards broadside, I pinwheeled him. So he takes off through the nastiest, thickest briar patch you've ever seen in your life, and that's kind of what happened. It was more of a lucky than good thing. I've got so many other giant deer on my lease. I was just coming over here to just shoot a doe, and then had a 160 walk out in front of me. So I guess it pays to be lucky than good. You know what I mean? I
hear you on that, man. So tell us a little bit about the recovery. You said your son-in-law was with you. Is that your hunting buddy?
That is my hunting buddy. He married my daughter. Like I said, we just had a new grandbaby about 5 months ago. So he's 29, and he's turned into be a pretty good hunter himself. And I listen when he says something. I listen to him because he's getting to be pretty good. So he was in the other stand, and he just texted me saying he's seen a big buck on the west fence. Well, that's straight north of me where I was sitting. And I texted him back. I said, "Yeah, I just shot him." he still didn't believe me. I know he didn't. So he got down, and I told him I'd wait till it got dark, completely dark, so he could hunt, because he had a big 7-pointer around the pond making a rub. And we met back up at the truck. We had a pretty good walk back up to the truck. And I told him what happened and where this deer ran. You know, I know every inch of this farm, top to bottom, back and forth, and he couldn't have went in a worse spot. Down in the bottom, and a bunch of deadfalls, and the neighbors had let it grow up and stuff, and we actually had to call and get permission to go get him. But we got that. But it was in the nastiest briar patch, deadfall laden. It was unholy. And we actually called my other daughter's boyfriend and had him meet us down there. He was about 20. He said he sat on the couch in sweatpants, and he got up. About a 20-minute drive, so he got there, and we had 3 little, like I told you before, when we switched trucks. I had all my tracking lights and all my big lanterns and everything in my truck, and we had a cell phone, flashlight, and a little tiny headlamp that could barely see the ground with it. And we tracked this deer all the way back through the thicket and found him. Walked up on him, and he's laying there, looks expired. Everything's great. We're talking and sweating and just having a good old time. And I look at the deer, and his ear moves. And I said, "What in the world?" So I took my flashlight and looked at him, and he turns his head and he looks at me. And I thought, oh my God. I said, "Guys, he's just resting, and he's going to get up." They're like, no, he's done. He's done. Like, no, trust me, he's going to get up. So I had to go all the way back to the truck. It's about a half a mile through the briars again in the dark. Got the bow, come back down there, and got off track coming down there. So I had to take a new route, and I got covered with stick tights and briars, and I'm bleeding and sweating, and it's horrible. I get to the deer. He stands up and takes off.
Ugh.
I mean, it's just a sickening feeling. And right then, I thought the second shot was money. I thought I put it right through his lungs. So I thought, he's done. No, he got up and moved. And so we track him some more. He's on blood. You can hear him kind of ahead of us, but we didn't try to push him too much. And then we didn't hear him anymore, and we couldn't find any blood. And I'm beside myself, sick. I thought, I can't believe I just did that. Made the dumb, rookie mistake of pushing a gut shot deer. But we headed down to the creek, took our little tiny flashlights that we had, and split up and went one way or the other on the creek, and walked up on him. He was laying down, bedded in the creek, facing away from us. And this time I had my bow, and I was able to sneak in with about 18 yards and put another one through him. And still had to wait a little bit for him to expire. That was a tough buck, I'm telling you. He did not want to die. But then we're about...
It's always amazed me how tough they are. Like you said, you think you pinwheel them, and they'll run a mile. Their will to live.
That's exactly what it was. He didn't want to go down. And like I said, I thought the second shot was perfect. But after reviewing the footage, after all was said and done, he took a step right when I let it go. And I just hit him about 2 inches behind the lungs. It was center mass, but, being me, my knees were shaking and I was, all tore up. It looked to me like a perfect shot, but never trust what a guy tells you when he's all.
That's right.
When he's talking about a big buck, because they lied to you. It's crazy. But we were in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night and had really no options to get him out there. So we didn't know what to do. So we ended up dragging him. We take turns, we take shifts dragging, and we finally got him out of there and got him home. And I only lived like 30 minutes in there, and it was midnight before we got home. And we were exhausted. But, I'll tell you what, we all looking back, we were talking about it on the way home. We wouldn't have had it any other way. That was a story they can, tell my grandkids, and, it was perfect. It really was.
Well, you said you've killed over 70 deer. You said he's in the 160s. It sounds like this of the 70 deer, this will be an experience, like you said, you'll remember for a long time. Especially to have your son-in-law there to be on it on your family's farm. That's all pretty neat stuff.
Oh, absolutely. He's been hunting there with me for probably 7 or 8 years, ever since he started dating my daughter, and we've become pretty close on the hunting part of it. And, like I say, I've got the way I trust him and trust his judgment, and I don't have to do it my way all the time.
Right.
But he turned into a pretty good hunter.
So you were in Missouri. We've got people that listen from all over the country and even all over the world.
Right.
With OAC, we've got competitors in Canada. We've got some even in Australia, things like that.
Awesome.
What we like to talk about sometimes is, how do you get a tag in Missouri? I know what it means. I know how you get a tag in Missouri, but some folks might be surprised of how you get a tag or your license and those kind of things in Missouri. How does that happen?
For as an out-of-stater? Or?
Well, you're a resident, right? Are you a resident of Missouri?
I'm a resident, yes.
So how does a resident get one, and then we'll cover how a non-resident gets one?
Oh, it's all automated now. I mean, Missouri Department of Conservation has really simplified things. It's great. You can do it all on your phone. You have an app. If you download their app from Missouri Department of Conservation called Missouri Hunting, you can do it all from your phone. You never have to leave. You can buy tags. You can check the seasons. You can check the regulations, the new rules. You can check your deer in. You don't have to do everything. Can be done by your phone. It's for
somebody that doesn't know what checked your deer in. You're talking about that's how you tag them, right?
Right. Our old style, we used to have a paper tags, and you would rip the bottom part off. You would call in, and then you would talk to an automated operator on the phone, and you would tell them what you shot. They would ask you a series of questions, and you would answer the questions, and they would feed you back a number that you wrote on this tag, and then you'd have to physically attach that tag to the deer. But now, in the last couple of years, they've went to an automated app, which basically you simulate tagging the deer with your phone. As long as you have to carry your phone with you. If you have tags bought on your phone in your file, you have to have your phone with you while you're hunting. That acts as your hunting license and your tag.
Okay.
So you have to physically have some form of license. So if you have your phone and it's on your phone, you're fine. But the same way, you will go on the app, and they'll ask you a series of questions. You'll answer the questions by just typing in whatever, and they'll feed back a number, and you'll say, do you wish to check this deer? And you hit yes, and you submit, and you checked. And it's actually very, very simple. It's too simple.
That's great. That makes it easy. I know I can remember when I first started hunting, having to track down a check-in station because not every place that sold a license was necessarily a check-in station. That's how it is in Tennessee. Now we have a very similar process. You can do it on your phone, and that's great. I know a lot of states are starting to do that.
Exactly, yeah. We all, now that the old timers are all like, we missed the check stations, we missed this, but it was just camaraderie thing.
Absolutely.
There in the back of the truck, tailgates down, everybody's got deer, you stand around.
Absolutely.
And then help other local businesses. You're going to go in there and buy something.
Right.
You're going to buy soda, you're going to buy some beer, you're going to do something. And everybody got to talk to each other and see each other's deer. And this is kind of what I don't like about it, is taking the camaraderie out of that part of it. But as far as convenience-wise, it's unbeatable.
Right. Yeah, the whole meet up at the BP, and we'll show off what we got this morning.
Oh, absolutely.
That's totally changed.
Tailgate down.
That's right. Pull it. Yeah, people drive around with their tailgates down here for a reason. It's not to save. It's not to save on fuel. It's to show off what's in the bed.
Oh, absolutely. And that did take that away from. But sometimes you got to give up a little, get a little. So it's not a bad trade-off.
All right, so one thing I know is you've got your own unique style to hunting. We've talked about it a little bit, about your preparations early season versus when things start getting real serious, when the deer start rutting. Let's talk a little bit about your preparation early season, and then how that switches once the deer start really, we get a whole lot more daylight activity during the rut, that kind of thing. They're super active. So, like I said, kind of walk us through what Mike does from early season to when the rut starts.
Yeah, like I was telling you before, that it's pretty much a 365-day thing for me. I don't really have any vacation from deer hunting. Once the season's over, I'm working on next season, and I'm gleaning information from what I learned this year. And I'll be moving deer stands, and right after turkey season, I start moving deer stands all the way up through the summer. I run tons and tons of trail cameras, and I never leave them in the same spot. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. If I'm not getting the pictures where I think I need to be getting pictures, I'll move it. So every 3 days I go check my cameras. I go in there. I don't descent myself. I got a loud truck. I've got a loud four-wheeler. I want the deer to know I'm there. I want the deer to know the sound of my truck and my four-wheeler, and to know that it's not a threat. So I'll do that from, I'd say, late May up until late August. I'm in there every other day I'm off. So every 3 days I'll have a day off. I'm going to check all my cameras. I'll end up moving cameras. I might move deer stands. I'm in the woods constantly from all summer long. You know, it's just, to me, that's almost as fun as the hunt, is preparing for the hunt. Trying to figure out, it's a chess game to me, is trying to outsmart